In the interest of making Inside the Box a more reasonable length with a ton of DVDs involved, let's try and go kind of quickly through these because there were a lot of requests this week. I'm going to stay up late editing, I guess. But this is Star Blazers, also known as Space Battleship Yamato, I think, in Japan. I probably should have looked that up ahead of time just to make sure. But basically, I think this is one of those classical series. That, of course, covers the first season. And then we've got the second season here. The guy who asked me to show these also asked my opinion about the series. But the unfortunate truth is that I simply haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I consider this to be a higher priority watch than many of the other things I've watched, especially since I've been diving so much into historical anime. What with watching Mobile Suit Gundam, the original, and thinking about what other things to watch. I even gave Kimber the White Lion a try. Actually, I gave that more than a try. I actually watched all of it, didn't I? Huh. But yeah, as far as I know, these three series should cover all of the contents of it. I can't remember how much this has been edited, but I wouldn't be surprised if these are all dub only since it's called Star Blazers. And Star Blazers is basically the English only name. Even insofar as one of the movies is called Star Battleship Yamato. Speaking of the movies, the final box contains a DVD video collection of the movies. At least I think this is all the movies. We got Space Battleship Yamato the movie, Farewell to Space Battleship Yamato in the Name of Love, Space Battleship Yamato the New Voyage, Be Forever Yamato, and Final Yamato, and of course this booklet. All of these came with viewer's guide. It's also pretty hard to dig out of my collection, but that's okay. Gunkatsuo, the Count of Monte Cristo. A good series, although I'm not sure if it's good relative to the original telling of the Count of Monte Cristo. All I know is, having never heard that story, this one was a bit compelling. So it's possible my noobish approach to having watched the series made it seem more exciting compared to the original. I can't really judge too well. Berserk is one I have not seen. This is a TV Series 1 complete collection. The inside is actually rather dull. It's really hard to tell the DVDs apart other than the names on them. But the DVD menus I remember being almost completely indistinguishable from each other. But that's okay. Magical Girl, Lyrical Nanoha. This is actually a pretty cool Magical Girl series. Basically, I think the idea was to take the Magical Girl concept and this time actually make it aimed at a male audience, which basically means more choreographed and I guess I don't know what the other word for it is, but some battle. Unfortunately, only the first two seasons that I actually downloaded and watched are out on DVD, which is a bit too bad because I only ever downloaded the first episode of Strikers, and at that time I was transitioning to DVD, so I never got a chance to see much more of it. I really wanted to. And then we got a Gintama, which is really highly rated, and I'm still on the second DVD. I'll get around to it eventually, but geez, there's just so many anime here that I realize I want to watch, but for some reason when I have the time to watch it, I don't feel the pressure to watch it, so I don't get around to watching them. Here's a popular request that comes up fairly frequently now. Sailor Moon. And why not? This was a huge, huge series. I mean, like, even I got to watch a couple of episodes while growing up. It's like, at the same time, you know, it's not like it's huge because it's the best thing in the world. It's just like huge because we all knew it. Despite its flaws, there was something entertaining about it. You know, you could watch her do that transformation every episode actually, and still for some reason find it entertaining, even though the bad guys are always killed with the same attack. And maybe that same attack changes on a season by season basis. But I don't know. I'm having trouble thinking of the word that describes kind of what compelled me to keep going on as I watched it, at least. It's definitely not that overall. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because another series that kind of kept me coming, even though it followed a pattern the whole time, was Gao, King of Braves. But that one, it was more the just how absurd it got and how overflowing with gar it was. I think that's the right word. Nobody's corrected me on it yet, and y'all do like to correct me if I get things wrong, so but Sailor Moon is not full of gar. It's something else. Maybe one of y'all can think of a good idea of a good concise word that describes it. Because all the words that come to mind, standing here showing it to you, none of them quite fit the bill. Maybe what I'm thinking of is Sailor Moon was entertaining, kind of similar to the way that Rumiko Takahashi series are entertaining, in that they have an overall atmospheric tension related to romantic concepts as well as mystical concepts introduced in the series that are never quite resolved. But I don't know. Anyways, continuing on, we've got a Clannad, a series that kind of doesn't suffer from that, and instead is kind of the opposite, where there's explained mystical elements and thoroughly explored romance that clearly goes somewhere. And then we have the Clannad After Story. These are, of course, collection versions. Each has 13 episodes. And this is definitely a series well worth seeing if you're the kind of person that needs a anime that brings up emotion, I guess. And then there's a complete collection version of Clannad. Only has the first Clannad, not Clannad After Story. And this has got a dub to it. And seeing all this kind of makes me want to rewatch it. But we can't. We have to do an anime DVD collection update. Girls Bravo, Volume 1. And you know, talking about romantic and mysticism stuff, this anime is kind of almost like the opposite extreme of that, isn't it? Just forget romantic tension. Let's go straight to sexual tension. Not necessarily a bad thing, but you know, it's kind of hard to marry the two. The famous Love Ueki box set. It's technically both of these cases that look exactly the same in every single way. And the only way to tell them apart is based upon the actual DVDs themselves. So you have to figure out that this is DVD 1. And you can usually figure that out by looking at the insert in the middle where it lists the DVDs. And, you know, given how much work goes into all these DVD cases, I can't help but wonder how much of Law of Ueki was released single. Overall, it was a very interesting series. Something was missing, but as far as shonen go, it followed the formula without feeling too, I don't know. I'm forgetting those words in that English language thing we use. Fafner. Let's turn this sideways to give me a little more room here. I think this one was animated by the same people who do Gundam or the more recent Gundam stuff. Because character designs have that resemblance, I think. Unless at this point I'm just overstimulated in terms of everything looking familiar that I can't properly say what looks familiar to what. I know I didn't appreciate the beginning as much as I was hoping I would. But I remember enjoying the series. So, Escaflowne. When I bought these DVDs, I hunted them down. I paid a good price for them. Probably closer to $25–30 per. And then a couple weeks later, box set came out or something. Maybe a couple months later. I don't know. But it was something really silly like that. But I've never been a patient person in terms of buying anime. And this is the movie. I still haven't watched this. That's just mind-boggling to me, I guess. Kinda, sorta. Not really. I was asked to show Macross / Robotech. And since I'm preferring to collect the Robotech label, since, or the Macross label, since Robotech is technically a mishmash of a couple series. Well, this is the original Macross Complete Collection, the series that was used to create the original Robotech. And then we have Macross 2, the movie, which might not have had anything to do with it. I know there's a Robotech movie, but I still need to take a look at it to see if it's something to see what it is. And then we got the Macross Plus movie edition. And just to be extra thorough, I also got the OVA version of it. And unfortunately, I've only watched the original Macross, so I don't know how all of these tie into each other. As I hinted at, though, I was respecting the general Robotech idea, and here's the complete collection for the other two series that were used to create the original Robotech, and that's Southern Cross and Genesis Climber Mospeada. I look at these and I can't help but wonder if it would be pretty cool to have series. These are just simple DVD stacked things, so there's not really much to look at on the inside or on the back. I watched Genesis Climber Mospeada, but not a Southern Cross, so I really ought to watch it so that I have watched all the Robotech DVDs. Hellgirl. First season of which was done by Funimation and was dubbed. Going back and watching the dub later, I didn't think it was half bad, but if you watch the original subtitle version, you probably get used to the specific way Hellgirl says certain things. That makes it kind of hard to go back. Otherwise, Sentai Filmworks released Season 2 Part 1, Season 2 Part 2, Season 3 Part 1, Season 3 Part 2. Overall, a much more satisfying series than I thought it would be in the first season. I only have a collection version of Shakugan no Shana, because the discs contained inside of it are exactly the same as the disc contained in the single, so there was no need for me to contain it. And the reason I bought this is because of this DVD back here anyways, which has the Shakugan no Shana OVA on it. Or maybe more than one. I don't really know, since, as is usual, I haven't watched it yet. Bamboo Blade, which I thought was a pretty entertaining concept. There were a couple things I had with it, but a lot of that is probably just me cheering for What's-Her-Face, who I consider the main character, and her inability to handle certain problems she had, which is okay. I guess overall, you need characters with flaws for them to overcome, right? And then at the bottom of my pile of stuff to go through, because it was the first I pulled out, we have Black Lagoon, And I actually saw the first DVD of Second Barrage not long after The Dark Knight, and subtle things about it reminded me of it. Somewhat. Otherwise, the 2 seasons of Black Lagoon.